Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Everything Outside Code. And today I have with me a very fantastic guest. I have Mark Bishop. A couple weeks ago, Mark showed me his GTM mind map, and I said, absolutely, 100, 1,000%. I need to show this to folks listening to Everything Outside Code. And today we have Mark here. But first, we're going to hear from Mark. He's going to tell us a bit about himself, and we'll get to the bits of it. If this is your first time on the podcast, we typically talk about the really difficult parts of growing a business. Um, the hard part that is in product development. I know product development is also difficult, but the hardest thing I've done this year has been running GTM and at least supporting the go-to-market motion at Hackmamba. So on these streams, we talk to professionals like Mark. So over to the man of the moment, Mark. How you doing today, man? Thanks for coming on stream.
Hey, thank you, William. Really appreciate that intro and delighted to be here. I'm a big fan of what you're doing and the people you speak to. So I guess a bit about me, about 20 years of marketing experience, all in kind of B2B technology, which has been through lots of changes, I guess, over that time. But, you know, a few things I think have remained kind of consistent, and that is developing a well-structured go-to-market strategy. The technology's changed, the way we go to market has ultimately changed, the way we price software through SaaS has changed. But there's a few fundamentals that I think have stuck. So a little bit more about me. So I've got a bit of a technical background. So I studied geospatial information systems at Kingston Uni. So that's everything to do with kind of mapping and location analysis. And what kind of blows my mind a little bit about AI at the moment is we were doing a lot of this stuff back in the day, right? 15, 20 years ago, around sort of predictive analytics and things like that, right? So yeah. AI, there's a lot of hype to AI, and that's a different podcast, right? So yeah, cut my teeth very much in kind of the technical world, but then moved into product marketing and ultimately learned that I had a bit of a skill for translating a lot of the technical jargon, which is super important, to real world value that either sales teams could use, marketing could use, and businesses could use to articulate the value, particularly when we were moving back then from on-premise to cloud. You know, there was a lot of misunderstanding about how we were moving. So moved into product marketing, and I'm a big believer that product marketing actually is the fundamental to a lot of things within marketing, and maybe we can come on to that. Moved into product marketing, and then worked for a number of startups and scale-ups, and that's where I really learned that my particular skill set. So when you talk about marketing to a lot of people think it's brand, a lot of people it's communications, to some people it's, you know, lead gen, demand gen. But where I sit is very much demand gen and product marketing and how you take that to market, which is really important for early stage companies. You know, seed through to Series C. It is, how do you articulate your value? How do you get it to market? And how do you ensure that people are viewing your content? So I've been really blessed in my career actually to be in tech. I think it's a fantastic place. I get to meet some amazing people, and right now what I'm doing is fractional marketing advising, if you like, where I come in and I help organizations to develop their GTM, both hands-on and strategic.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a wealth of experience as well over the last 20 years. And did you move anything, or was there any crossover from like special computing to marketing? Did anything cross over for you?
It sort of happened for me in that I just love being out of the office, right? So I did a course very early on in kind of product marketing, product management. And there's this whole framework that you can check out there. It's called pragmatic marketing, and it covers everything from strategy through to execution, from planning product roadmaps to looking at use cases, looking at personas, all of that kind of technical stuff in product management. But what I actually realized is just my skill set, and what I enjoyed doing was being out in the field, working with the sales team, working with other marketers. understanding how customers are using stuff. And so really early in my career, someone used this saying once, and it really stuck with me, and it was NAHITO, and it's an acronym. So it means nothing important happens in the office. And it just stuck with me, right? And I still think that,
Okay.
right? Because if you think about it, every great engagement you have, every sale you make, every thing you learn about a competitor, every new technology you discover, it doesn't happen when you're sitting in the office, getting work done, which is important. Yeah. But the important stuff happens on calls like this when you're chatting to people, right?
Yeah, 100%. You need to get your head out there. Maybe you don't get your body physically out, but your head needs to be like outside, out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, this all makes sense. I like the fact, or I'm interested in the fact that you said product marketing, sort of the fundamental of marketing, and that feels like a bit about like your background. That's where you came from. Could you tell us a bit about what this fundamental of marketing, that is product marketing, looks like, and maybe if there's a distinction between product marketing and marketing in general?
Yeah, so I think product marketing is, I think we've all become quite humble, which is a good thing, right? So we have basically quite often things like thought leadership, right, which is very much a top of funnel thing to get people understanding a concept of a problem, right? Whether it's about regulation or whether it's about solving a technical problem, it's very ethereal and it's important, top of funnel. But I think because we've become humble in that we then don't tell people necessarily how to solve the problem, right? And if we've got a killer product, you don't want to just talk about features and functions, of course, but equally, you don't want to shy away from explaining and articulating how you solve that problem for someone. And so you've got to have a blend and a balance. So I see general marketing about communication, about thought leadership, about brand, about what you stand for, your values as a business or a person, about how you partner, how you go to market. But product marketing is then, okay, when the rubber hits the road, what do you actually do for your customers that solves a problem that is either going to save them money, save them time, or frankly, make them look good to their boss, right? That's quite often what is important. And so product marketing is really shaping and articulating that in a very, very crowded market, right? In technology now, there's a solution out there for everything. There's a solution that you didn't even know you needed, you didn't have a problem for. So it's really articulating how your product fits in a specific category that solves a problem. So that's, I think, typically, if you look at the funnel of marketing, right, it's awareness, consideration, decision. Product marketing does tend to be a little bit more around the decision making or even the consideration phase once you get into the details. But ultimately, I think in this world of AI, we've moved to a little bit more kind of fluffy, kind of top of funnel brand stuff, where actually things like LLMs, people are just cutting to the chase. Like, find me a piece of software that is going to help me to manage my risk in compliance for this specific regulation, right? Boom. And an LLM will probably tell you that, right? So the world is changing. I think you've got to, I'm a big passionate believer of product marketing, particularly for early stage. And that's why I produced this mind map that you talk about. Firstly, I'm a big fan of mind maps. Like, if you don't use them, just use them to chuck stuff down. And I thought, well, actually, with all this experience, and when I go in to chat to people or, just literally need to have all of this on one sheet of paper. And so it is structured around kind of the go-to-market, but specifically focused on people that need to take products to market.
Yeah, this sounds amazing. I mean, it sounds like a really good intro to the mind map, right? Which just helps you get your product to market. And a lot of founders struggle with that, right? I've been out there this year a lot, and for especially first-time founders, the golden question is, I've built this really cool thing. I'm very passionate about it, but I don't even know what the first step to getting it out there looks like. And it's like coming at a crossroad, but instead of a crossroad, you're faced with like 15 different options. You could either like do ads. Some say you need to build your brand from day one. Some are like, okay, you need to look for your target audience, go the community route. set up a community, try to grow it. And some say just build a great product, just keep building a great product and folks will find you. And others would be like, yeah, create content, start investing in content marketing from day one. So it feels like they're like varying options, right? And obviously it depends on the product, how much resources are available, what stage they are in as a company. Are they even a company? So all these questions plague first time founders, and oftentimes a lot of founders, especially when they switch to like a different niche. So it's interesting to see what your take is. I mean, I've seen a bit of what this mind map looks like, but I would love for you to present it and just maybe walk me through what it looks like again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I as an observation, I've noticed that marketing as a discipline has become very tactical, right? It's been very much, let's throw content out there, let's see what sticks, and if it doesn't, let's just keep moving on and throwing stuff. And I think there is a discipline to marketing, and there is everything that I do is driven through strategy, and that strategy aligns to a founder or a CEO's or a business's corporate vision and goals. And so everything that you do, even if it comes down to a single LinkedIn post, that has to wrap up through campaigns and who you're hitting and who you're targeting to a corporate vision and goal. So the mind map that I've started or that I've got very much starts with like, you have to fundamentally understand as a marketer what your vision and goal is. So is it growth? Is it brand awareness? Are you trying to displace a competitor? Who's your ideal customer? What are the metrics that you're looking to drive in terms of revenue? What are the metrics in terms of new logo acquisition and those things? So it has to be underpinned by the fundamentals. And actually, I think where good marketers come in is they can take a founder's vision and say, okay, well, I see we need to get to a small set of people. Let's run in-person events. Actually, I see we need to do much more account-based marketing. Let's target these lookalike accounts with a similar message, etc. So it really does start with the strategy. Then, I didn't join marketing to be a data scientist, right? But it has to also start with data, right? So you need to understand who's in your marketable database today. How many of those are in your ICP? How can I grow that? What's my pipeline look like? How are people converting through the funnel that I've spoke about? All of those metrics, like get a baseline, because you can only test and learn. And marketing, like a lot of things in business, but particularly marketing, is about testing, learning, failing fast, hopefully succeeding quickly, but iterating on that. Even if your baseline says we have 0 leads, right? Or we have 10 leads, or we have 100 leads, get that baseline and then you can start to build from that. You can build your OKRs. Then it really comes into like planning and execution and content. Everyone talks about content, and content is really key, but I've got this notion of like 3 other C's that are really important around content. And content is just almost your means to reach people. So the first C that I've got is contacts. So who are you going after, right? Who is in your marketable database? What is your ICP? What does that look like? Do you actually even have an ICP? Build that out first before you even think about content. Then we go into campaigns. So again, what are you looking to achieve? Is it just brand awareness? Are you looking to build a community? Are you looking to get developers on board? Are you looking to get investment? Build a specific campaign that has a specific end goal. Only then look at content. So what content is then going to be appropriate for those particular campaigns? And then finally, the 4th C that I've kind of come up in this framework is channels. So what channels can you use to deliver that content to the right people? So if you're going for investment right now, it's going to be very different channels to if you're looking to build a community, or whether you're looking to build partnerships, or whether you're purely looking for growth. So build that into a quarterly plan. You've got your baseline. It's all aligned to the corporate objectives. You've got your OKRs. And then off you go. And then around that, there's a whole raft of planning around what's your technology stack, what people do you need, what resources do you need, do you do agency, do you in-house, etc. So it's all there, right, ready to go. But like I said, that is a demand gen engine or a marketing engine.
Yeah, that is great. I was just looking at like the mind map on the side.
Oh, nice.
And it looks as magnificent as ever. Hopefully, maybe you could share your screen at some
Yeah,
point.
definitely. Since we've spoken about it so much, we'll post it.
Yeah, and share that. I'm curious. You say campaigns are sort of like the precursor to at least creating content, right? And I have met a lot of founders that are like, yeah, we know we want to create content. We don't have a marketing person internally. I'm the founder. I do all of the marketing. But now I have to say to them, hey, you have to plan a campaign before we create content so that there's sort of a strategy around the content that we are creating. I want to get your thoughts on these campaigns. What's sort of like a base requirement? So if there's a stripped down version of a campaign, what do you feel like it should look like? It should contain?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've been thinking a lot about this, particularly into kind of trends for 2025 and where I see marketing going. And my one piece of advice to anyone starting out, like just literally any kind of content that you want to produce, is just produce case studies. Literally, if you could just get people to tell your story, whether it's even if you've not got product market fit right now, right? If you've got a proof of concept, if you've got people that you're engaging with, get them to articulate your story either through a video like this, a podcast, a written testimonial, anything that endorses you via another someone else in your industry is absolutely gold. Right, you see it yourself. If someone, and word of mouth is massive, right? So there's the funnel that you know about, right? So you're getting engagement, you're getting clicks, you're getting likes, you're doing social. There's this dark funnel that you don't even know about. You can't measure it. There's no cookies you can put on it. Where someone says, "Hey, that William, he's doing some great stuff," and Accenture are working with him, or have you seen that customer that he's working with that they've done X, Y, Z? Referrals, the network is absolutely essential. So if you're a founder or a CEO right now, literally I would say, right, my content strategy is how can I enable other people to tell my story? Sure, as a founder, you want to be really interesting. You want to, of course, and you want to build your own personal brand and you want to get content out there. But there's nothing as compelling as case studies right now. And I would say, even for bigger organizations, huge organizations, I'm going to predict this shift now. I would say 2 years ago, I saw a lot of CMOs and a lot of marketers saying we are changing from a marketing department to a media department, right? We need to produce content, high quality content, right? And so marketers, big organizations were investing in studios, they were investing in content. Great. I would say I'm going to predict the shift that they're going to actually be case study departments. They are literally, people have just been bombarded with generic, just pithy content that doesn't add any value, right? If you've got a Vodafone talking about how they've successfully improved customer experience, people are going to listen to that, especially if it's a human, even if it's in this kind of form like this, right?
Yeah.
So that was a long answer to a short question of how, what content is going to succeed. Case studies, case studies, case studies.
Yeah. I think that's a really good one. At the start of this year, when I was thinking around like our growth strategy, I wrote one big word very boldly on top of the document, and that was proof. I was like, we need to show proof as much as possible. If we don't have proof, we need to collect proof. we need to do great work, generate proof, show others. And I think that's really, really helped us, from something as simple as having a portfolio page, or even shining a light on your partners and work that you've done, as simple as it can be, in the simplest way possible. That's a good way. That's a good growth lever for us, and I think it can be for a lot of founders. A lot of founders are usually shy about like tooting their own horn, which is great. Like that's fantastic. But if you toot someone else's horn, that's even better, right? It makes you look good. You're a great guy, right? And the other company, they also feel good. They feel really good about it. And the side effect is your prospects see that union, they see that partnership with everyone being happy, and they're like, "Hey, I want to play too, right? I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of this happy union as well." And it just sort of all really comes together and works. So yes, case studies. That's a good one. Um, Aside from case studies, right? Is there anything else in a campaign a founder has to consider? So they've considered, okay, we're going to make case studies, but from like an operational standpoint, say they want to create content for 6 months, the next 6 months, or at least they're planning for a year. I don't know if should campaigns be year long, or should they be quarterly, and then you just update them, or you renew them, even if maybe it's still the same strategy around it. What's your thought around like length, and also if there's something else you need to consider beyond case studies?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I mean, a campaign is a catch-all word, right, for a series of steps and activities that lead to an
Mm-hmm,
outcome. So if I was running an event for someone, right, we'd have an event campaign, and that may be
mm-hmm.
6 weeks, right?
Okay.
So 6 to 10 weeks. So you're driving attendance to the event. You're obviously got the event itself where you want to be successful, and then you've got event follow-up. So all of that is an orchestrated campaign, right? And it could be 6 weeks. There could well
Mm-hmm,
be a complete brand relaunch, right? So you've completely perhaps pivoted your business. You want to do something different, and that can be
mm-hmm,
a year, right? So I know that's kind of skirting around the question, but the time frame isn't set right away. Well, let me back up. So the time frame needs to be set at the beginning, but the time frame isn't important, but it could be different for each campaign. So like I say, it could be a year or it could be 6 weeks. I think what's important is to state up front, and this can be a one pager, right? And again, there's templates for that to say, what is this campaign? What is its objectives? What are the timescales? What are the OKRs or results look like? And how are we going to do it? And so a lot of founders will, again, just start creating content, and you can have a campaign for a week. Like I say, if you're launching a new product or you've got something happening, it could be a week-long campaign or a 6-week campaign, but you need to time box that.
mm-hmm,
And I think what the other thing that is really important is that you can have, for founders, you can have like what I would call a hero piece of content, and then use that and reuse it. So, for
mm-hmm,
example, you could do a piece of market research, right, yourself, or get someone to do it, that simply surveys a bunch of your prospects or customers. What are the biggest trends in no code, low code for 2025, right?
mm-hmm,
And you can survey a bunch of CTOs and technical folks. Get that back. You then package that up as a download, and then you do a webinar on it 6 weeks later. Then you do some blog posts. Then you interview someone that was part of it. And then, so what I'm a big fan of, particularly at early stage where budgets are small and actually just time is short, is get one like flagship piece of content, like a case study or a market piece of research, whatever it might be, and then slice that up. And the campaign becomes how you're going to serve that hero piece of content out and get as much value out of it as possible.
yeah. Oh, that's really cool. I think also technology makes this very efficient, right? At least easier, I would say, to take like one hero piece of content and slice that up. My buddy Mickey, I think that's his bread and butter these days, is how can you get more from less, right? How can you get more from little? So that's great. Something that just popped in my head while you were speaking was when I also speak to like founders from the strategic level, especially early stage companies to even some growth companies, early growth companies. their goal is growth. We want to grow revenues. We want to grow the number of users that we have. We need stuff to start to hit our bottom line. That's the objective. But then when you come down to the operational level, before the tactical level of like executing it, on the operational level, what happens there? How should they think about this growth? Do they have to pick and choose? Is this where they need to bring on a marketing professional to come in and say, okay, here are some of the levers we can pull? Or does the founder go one step down to the operational level and say, okay, so here are some strategic intents that we can have. Let's go this route or this route. How do you sort of see that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking sort of in theory a little bit, but looking at practical solutions, to tie it to revenue, you still need to connect with a human at some point, right? So you either need a sales team, internal or external. That's just the reality, right? Is that you are going to have to connect with another human to sell your service. And so where I would advise any sort of founder to get operational is to make sure that sales and marketing are completely aligned, whether that is one salesperson or whether it's even the founder themselves. Is kind of like founder-led sales. Just make sure that whoever you bring in for marketing and sales, they work together. And because some of the most successful and I guess just harmonious, great places to work, right, ultimately are when sales and marketing are on the same page. And what do I mean by that? I mean by marketing aren't just running a campaign that is going after the wrong ICP with the wrong message, and the sales guys are saying, well, actually, we just need more leads. You're going after the wrong people. It's where marketing and sales sit together at the beginning of a quarter or beginning of a year. They look at the revenue targets and they say, right, with the budget that we've got and with the team that we've got and the resources that we've got, how are we going to hit those revenue targets? Are we going to go to one event this quarter? Are marketing going to provide a bunch of content to enable the sales team to help close deals? Whatever it might be, let's work together. Because ultimately, marketing also. So I'm a revenue marketer, right? So my key OKR is, am I generating pipeline? And the only way in which my OKR is going to succeed ultimately is if sales hit the right. This has become pipeline now, right? They hit it in the CRM. They flag it as pipeline, and we've all got to agree that there's no point in vanity pipeline. There's no point in faking numbers, right? So marketing and sales have to be absolutely aligned at that operational level to make it work. So yeah, and that again, I've worked in organizations where there's been 20, 30 people in sales, and I've worked in organizations where there's been 2, and that is absolutely key to success.
Yeah, I think that's definitely bedrock, which is growth is the ultimate goal. If it's either founder-led sales or there's a sales team, they still need to align with marketing. And then when that alignment happens, when they're all in sync with what the goal looks like, it then makes sense to start to think around like, what are some of the strategies we could take to reach this goal? What do we have in our arsenal? Do we have budget so we can go paid, or should we go organic? What does organic marketing look like in this case? Or if we have these revenue goals and they're not as lofty, do we take an account-based marketing route, for instance? Do we identify number of accounts, 100, and say we're going to go after these folks, we're going to target them, and the sales team would like reach out to them because they have a list of maybe prospects they want to go after. So that sort of makes sense as it being the foundation, tying it to revenue for sure.
Definitely. And I think what's fascinating is there's technology now that will help you do that at scale, right? And I think where we're going to go next is kind of going to be a little bit scary for marketing, because we're going to have AI created content that's going to be highly personalized, direct to you, William, right? Direct to your inbox, which is fantastic, right? The more highly personalized, the better. But then we're going to have tools on your side that are going to filter out and get to the kind of content that you want. So we're going to have my marketing AI speaking to your inbox AI,
Yeah.
right? And, where's that going to go? Nobody really knows, but I know there are some fascinating things that are happening from organizations like Zoom Info, for example, where they're actually saying, we were a data organization. We had this huge enriched database of companies and people and ICP, but actually there's going to be this new marketplace that is going to emerge in the AI world where AI LLMs are talking to other AI LLMs and making decisions. And look, you're a techie dude as well. You probably know more about this than me, but it's mind blowing where we're going to go next.
Yeah, it is mind blowing. I mean, we see it in recruiting already, where recruiters and their systems they use AI to filter candidates, and the candidates have AI systems that are applying for jobs and beating these systems. So it's now a battle of who's going to beat who until two humans actually speak to each other. I feel like it's also why I'm betting on being human at Hackmamba, because we've developed traits over thousands of years. We wouldn't throw it away based off innovation that's maybe 10 years old, 20 years old in the making, right? So I'm definitely betting on being human, and the AI bits would just help get the right humans together. With the inbox scenario, I think we would see a shift from maybe not hyper personalization, but a shift from personalization to relatability, right? So you want content in my inbox that is relatable, something I care about, even if it doesn't really speak to me. It doesn't mention my name. It doesn't know who I am. It just knows that this person cares about this thing, which ultimately is what we all do. Is we all care about something, and once you care about something, it's relatable to you. It could be personalized, but you find it offensive. Um, the difference between an email sounding very creepy and actually sounding great, in my opinion, again falls in its relatability. You could find an email that talks about or that mentions the high school you went to, right? And you're like, the fuck is this? Like, who's this creep? Right? But if it's talking about something that you care about, maybe a problem that you have at the moment, you're trying to find someone from your high school, maybe, and they're like, hey, I know you're trying to find someone because you mentioned this here. Here's how to find like that person. We've built a software solution to help you do that. I think in that moment, you'd appreciate the email. You'd be like, wow, this is genius, not a creep. But if you're not trying to find anyone, you're like, who is this creep that is trying to tell me how to find people from my past? That sort of thing. So I feel like with the inbox scenario, it definitely would shift to a bit more relatability. And my AI would just be like, does William care about this now? Yes, allow. He doesn't care about it, deny, right? Because it sort of understands my intents. Now, understanding my intents as they shift, that is a massive problem. And it's why I have a hunch that companies like Google will win like the AI race if there is one, right? Even though technologically they are falling behind, but they have all the data, they have historic data, they have not just all the historic data, but they have access to future data. They are in my maps, they are in Chrome, they're in my browser, they are like in my devices, right? So they can ascertain intent in real time. And the same algorithms they use to serve us personalized ads that are intent based, they could apply that to the models that they have and the tools that they put out. So that when something comes in my inbox, I can say I want to filter this based on intent data that they already have. So they know, for instance, I'm looking for video content creators. Anyone that sends me an email talking about how they can help me get more leads, they should know I'm not looking for an agency because we've hired a head of marketing, for instance. But if you're a video content creator, it marks the email as important. That's sort of how I think about this and why I think Google will win. Their stock price is already like super high. So not investing, but I'm betting on them at least.
No, you're spot on, and William, you've hit it. Actually, the intent or the timing is, I think in all my experience of marketing and sales in 20 years, timing is everything. So we're all familiar, or a lot of us were familiar with BANT, right? Qualification. So you got budget, authority, need, and timing.
Yeah.
You know, the others are important, of course. You need someone that's going to be able to pay for it, and you need someone that has a problem, and you need someone that has the authority to pay for it. Quite often, that you've got the right person, right? If you're in a business, if you're selling to the right ICP, they will have a budget, and if you've done your research and you're in the right place, they'll have a need, and you can find the right person with authority. But timing is everything, right? As you've said, it may be the wrong part of the cycle. They may have just hired someone. They may be going through a rebrand or a relaunch or building their own community, right? So combining timing with personalization, I don't think people have got that right. Right? And if you look at ads today, right, I just kind of filter out ads like everyone does. We just have this kind of inbuilt ad blocker in our brain, right? You just scroll past. But if something just happens to be the right time and it clicks, then that's super important. So if AI, and actually, look, finally, there's nothing wrong with selling, and there's nothing wrong with marketing if you are providing a service to someone that needs it and it solves them a problem. It's become almost not all the time, but it's become a bit kind of I can't market. And we spoke about being humble and not talking about success, but actually this goes back to product marketing, right? If someone's got a problem and they need to solve it, and we're all under pressure, right? We all got to do more with less. We've all got targets to hit. If you can provide a solution that helps someone and you can reach them and you can articulate that to them and they buy the software, there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's a great
100%,
thing.
100%. I totally agree with you. I think I had to develop this mentality this year to understand that sales and marketing isn't bad. It's selling to the wrong people that's bad. Knocking up the wrong door, that's what's bad, because you're spending people's time and you're taking some time from them and requesting an initial investment from them, and the purchase will ultimately not happen, right? And being persistent at that's even worse, because they will not buy. They don't have a problem. They don't need your solution, and you're trying to force it on them. Even if they buy, ultimately they'll be unhappy. Obviously, there's a world where you want to sell something, you want to sell a solution to problems that people do not recognize that they have yet. But then that's where you need to do some education first. And a lot of people miss that educational piece, because education bridges the gap between I'm aware of a problem that I have to now I'm unaware to now I'm aware. So they're right to be sold to. That education piece largely missing. And then they go to, if it's missing and then you try to sell, doesn't work. I use this anecdote. I don't know if it's an anecdote, but I typically say it should be like picking up someone's wallet from the floor and handing it to them, right? And saying like, hey, you dropped your wallet here it is. Most times, like 99% of the time, the person would be like, wow, thank you so much. Can I do something? Like, can I give you like a reward? Here's a reward for it, right? You want to feel that way, that you're solving a problem for someone and they can feel the direct consequence of what you've just done for them. The faster you can bring that consequence to them, or that reward, that mental reward they feel to them, the better they're going to feel about the sale. I feel like that's why when you buy a car, they have you go into the car right away and like drive it, so you get the feeling of it. To your point, yes, I feel like sales and marketing definitely isn't bad. It's only bad when you're knocking up the wrong door, you're speaking to like the wrong prospect. And I guess the last thing I want to say to that is I do sales at Hackmamba as well. And these days I've sort of reoriented how I think about sales to be more of, instead of trying to qualify someone, it's me trying to disqualify them. And I even say it to prospects, I'm like, hey, I'm on this call today. I'm just trying to disqualify you. And they're like, wow, okay, we start from a no. We're starting from a no. I'm like, yeah, I love what you do. I see what you do, but we try as much as possible to help. And I want to be sure that I can help you. If I cannot help you, then I don't want us to spend as much time or spend time on this call, because I understand that You're a founder, I'm a founder. Our times are like super important. So I state that up front, and I think they also respect our time, and it's a more honest conversation that we have too. So yeah, I go and try to disqualify them, and then we find a reason to work together, and we find common ground. Not like we convince ourselves to work together, but at least we know that yeah, we should work together. That's sort of how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you're doing in terms of just building communities as well.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, that's not a huge skill set of mine. But I think it's something I'm going to have to evolve into, because I'm seeing that more and more. Communities often were kind of more like techie communities where let's go and grab a pizza and talk about code. But I think right across the board, kind of post-pandemic, we're all craving a little bit more kind of human-to-human interaction, particularly in this AL world. So I'd love to just kind of hear your thoughts on kind of community building as well, where you see that going.
Yeah. I mean, community building brought me here. I grew up in a community, and I saw the immediate impact of like communities in your life as a child, as a person growing up in Nigeria, for instance. So starting out my career, I started out from building communities, and whenever something happens that affects like human nature, the human race, I look back at traits that we've built over millenniums, right? We will always have to survive, and we will always have to band together. It's how clans in caves beat each other. It's how civilization grew, was through communities of one form or another. The family unit starts from a nuclear family, becomes an extended family, and ultimately becomes some sort of community. So that's how I see community. It's etched in us somehow. So transferring that to like professional life, I've also taken the same philosophy. I felt like if I can find 2 to 3 people that have similar interests in whatever it is I'm working on, then we could start a community. And a community has to be self-sustainable, right? Usually people would have chiefs or leaders of their community, but then anyone can be like a leader, because if anyone cannot be a leader, then it isn't a community. It's more like a monarchy, right? It's a kingdom being led by someone. So anyone can lead a community. I strive towards that sustainability in communities, and tying communities back to product growth and marketing. I see that being very valuable, because from communities of people interested in a product or a problem or a solution, you get champions. And the champions are passionate about it. They will talk about it anyway, because they have the same exact problems, they have the same solutions, and they're happy to share with each other. At some point, the social chemistry part leaves a bit, and biology just takes over. Our desire to connect with others and share similar traits and patterns, and just get happy about it. I'm not the biologist, so I don't know what enzymes or what like hormones are secreted when that happens, but it makes us happy, right? We get excited about it, being the first to a solution, being the first to like having first look at Google's VO2 model, right? The VO2 video model they announced yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago. Being first to that and being in that community, you feel something about it, and that even brings you closer to the product, right? So since I had this inclination around how community should work and how it should make you feel, right? I've always strived to build a community where possible around any solution or a problem or a product. And the primary point of concern, or the primary thing, not being the product that we're selling, but being the people and the interests that they have, and also striving towards like self-sustainment. So that's how I see communities, and yeah, why I care about them, I'd say.
That's amazing. That is a incredible sort of journey and story, and actually rings true. And I think there's a lot of synergies there when I was talking about case studies and communities together, right? And I think we're on the same page that I think 2025 we're going to see both of those things kind of colliding, where you get communities being built, and you're so right. It can't be a dictatorship, right? You have to be an enabler. And it's fascinating. So yeah, it's going to be an incredible year next year, I think, in that respect.
Yeah, it's going to be an incredible year. And yeah, to your point, communities fail when it starts to become a dictatorship, where it's one person holding resources and dictating who has what. Ultimately, someone else, there'll be a rebellion. Someone will step out and be like, no, why should this person be in charge? Another leader, because leaders will not be followers by default. Another leader would step out, and if they do things right, they will create a community that sustains itself. If they do things wrong, they just replicate the previous community they came from, and the cycle continues.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, wow, we've gone so much ahead of time, but I just wanted to be conscious of time. Thank you so much, Mark, for this. Do you have any last words or anything to add before we close this?
I just want to thank you. I've really enjoyed this, and I think to everyone out there who's kind of watching, just think about content. Step back for a second and think about content as a strategy. It says it up there, content strategy. Think about what you're trying to achieve with content. We've only got so many hours in the day to create content, and on the other side of the fence, people have only got so many hours to consume content. So create. I think there's a quality threshold you've got to meet, and there's a consistency threshold that you've got to meet, and just keep that in balance. I know that you've done these weekly, and it's been incredible, and it's amazing, and that's the right cadence. It's a fantastic, right? But if you tried to do more and the quality came down, wouldn't be succeed. If you tried to increase the quality, but you only did 2 a year, then you're not going to succeed as well. So get the balance of quality and consistency, and think about it as a strategy. I guess they're my last kind of thoughts.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Mark. And to anyone listening, thanks for hanging out with us today. And that's today's episode of Everything Outside Code. Cheers.
Cheers.